In music, transposition means moving a set of notes up or down by a certain amount. This might be a melody or some chords or a whole arrangement of different parts. Let's start by looking at a really simple example. Here's a melody in the key of G major. Now, here's the same melody an octave higher. We've transposed the original up an octave. Shifting the music up or down by an octave can be really useful if you want to move the music to a more manageable part of the range of your instrument. Or, for example, if you're playing chords on the piano and it all sounds a bit murky. You could just move everything up an octave. Often, though, you'll want to move the music to a different key altogether. This could be for various reasons, but the basic process is always the same. Here's a real-world example, and this is me trying to sing Amazing Grace in the key of C. Amazing, that's too high. Okay, well, the first thing to try, perhaps, is to put it down an octave. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound to love. Well, obviously that's no better. So I'd prefer to sing it somewhere in between, which means changing the key. Let's try it in G instead. I'll need to move all the notes by the same amount. We'll look at the process in detail in a second, but for now, here's the same tune in G. Amazing grace, how oh, that's perfect. So, how did that work? Well, there are a couple of things to take care of. Firstly, we need the new key signature, and then we need to make sure that all the notes are the right distance apart. Since I'm moving from the key of C, which is too high for me, down to G, I'm moving everything down a fourth. That's the interval between C and G. I can simply go through the melody and check that each note is now a fourth lower. G down to D, C down to G, E down to B, and so on. There are another couple of ways to do the same thing. You could, for example, write out the scales of the two keys, one above the other, like this, and just read them off. In C, we start the melody on a G, so that's got to be a D in the new key. That's a pretty secure way of doing this, as long as you keep your place. Another method, which should give you the same results, is perhaps a more musical approach. If you look at the original melody, you can see what degree of the scale each melody note occupies. For example, the tune starts with the fifth and goes to the tonic. Then there's a little group of notes that fall from the third through the second and back down to the tonic, before moving up to the third again on the word grace. In the new key, these positions should be the same. We begin with the fifth up to the tonic, then that little run from the third down to the tonic again, and up to the third on grace. Once you've got the hang of this process, you should be able to put a tune into any key. Here's the same thing in B flat. The fifth, which is now F, up to the tonic B flat. The run of notes that goes 3, 2, 1, and back up to the third. It's very common to find that the music you're transposing will include chord symbols. Maybe you've got a song sheet and you want to play chords on the guitar or ukulele. Here's Amazing Grace in C again, but this time it's just lyrics and chord symbols. If we want to transpose the music to G, then I need to apply the same process to the chord symbols as we did for the melody notes. It really helps to number these chords. That way we can be sure we've got the same relationships in the new key. The first chord in the original key is G7, which is chord 5, the dominant 7 chord. In the new key, that chord 5 is D7. If we understand the positions that the chords occupy in the original key, it's easy enough to move them to the new key so that all the relationships stay the same. Understanding chord families such as chords 1, 4 and 5 in various keys, as well as memorizing different major scales and common chord progressions can really help with transposition. It's a useful skill to have, and if you play a transposing instrument, such as the trumpet or saxophone, you'll really need to get to grips with it. But that's for another time.